What's going on, guys? So should you build a nano or pico tank? A lot of people will say no. I would say yes, but I would say definitely do not start with a pico tank. If you have no experience in the hobby as far as reef and saltwater tanks, do not do it. You will run into a ton of problems that you will not know how to fix, and it will be very, very bad and costly. So like I said in my other video, it cost me around $400 to build my pico tank, which seems to be getting a ton of love on social media. So I just wanted to let you guys know what are my opinions on whether you should attempt to do this. Now, initially I was not planning on doing this at all. This tank I built for the Rico's Nano Tank Challenge 2018. I just kind of wanted to do something different. I got my inspiration from another hobbyist and a reefer, the OG of the Reef Squad, Inappropriate Reefer. He started off with a vase of a different kind, and that's what motivated me to build my tank. Now, I will say I ran into a ton of issues building this tank. The original tank I had cracked during plumbing, which was my fault, and I had to scrap it. The one that's here now is the second version, and it has a more minimalistic design, and I scaled back a lot of my crazy ideas. So should you do it? I would say if you have experience in the hobby, absolutely. It's no different than maintaining a regular tank, and I personally actually find it easier to maintain this tank. I do water changes on here about once a month. But the difference with this tank is I keep corals that I know will do well, that can stand a little bit of dirtier water and a lot of salinity and temperature swings. Now, if you don't want to deal with temperature swings, I suggest getting a controller, and that can be costly. I went for a cheaper, just specifically a heater controller, which controls heat and a fan or cooler of some kind. In addition to that, I do have a refugium and a sump. I think it's pretty necessary. Maybe not how I did it. It's a little complicated, but that's kind of how I wanted to do it. So, would you put fish in your pico or nano tank? Now, if you can get your hands on the ORA gobies that I have, I'm gonna flip the camera here and show you guys. So, if you want to go with any fish, I would suggest just going with some of these ORA gobies or aquacultured gobies. They're just going to be a lot hardier and be able to withstand a lot of temperature and salinity swings until everything gets stabilized. Now, I did have a tail spot blenny in here. He did well actually for quite a while, until while I was away I had a power outage. He couldn't deal with it. He died. If you also know, I had a pipefish in here. For whatever reason, he died. So the ORA gobies have been here. Well, the yellow line has been here from the start, and then the shark nose came after the tail spot blenny died. But they've gone through ick and beat it, and now they're just living their life. As you can see, I only keep 2 euphyllias in here, as well as some zoas, and that's just to keep me from having to do a lot of maintenance, a lot of water changes. I'm not doing SPS or anything like that. I don't really care if I lose the challenge due to some other people that want to keep SPS. I simply don't have the time. I'm a full-time student and I work full-time. I don't get any money from YouTube, as you know. I just started, so I have to set myself up for success, and in order to do that, sometimes you have to scale back on your wild ideas. So should you do this? Yeah, if you have experience in the hobby, absolutely do it. You can end up spending a lot of money, so you might want to find a way that works for you. This way didn't quite work for me, but I had some help. My girlfriend was very supportive, and she helped me out with piecing this together in time for the challenge. I find refugiums extremely important if you're going to keep fish. if you're not really gonna keep, if you're gonna keep coral, there's other options. You can just run heavy filtration, heavy mechanical filtration, or chemicals or whatnot. But I find if you're gonna keep fish, definitely keep a refugium. Not only will it help with the bioload by biologically filtering out the aquarium, it's also gonna promote the growth of a lot of microfauna and flora. That's gonna assist in managing the aquarium a lot easier. I find some very necessary. Sometimes I just don't like the look of anything really in your tank. I want it to look seamless almost, even though it's not. If you look through my tank, you can see my plumbing. But I could have easily eliminated that by painting the back of the tank black. Now I did do that on the original design of the tank, but not on this one. And the main reason for that is because I find that the paint introduces a lot of rigidity to the tank, which probably promoted and attributed to the first one cracking. I didn't want to deal with that, especially when I'm doing maintenance, so I didn't do it on this tank. It doesn't bother me. Most of my tanks are see-through. I do have one painted tank. I have my main reef tank is see-through. I'm gonna take you over there to see that, but you get the idea. An ATO, very, 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 very important. These tanks evaporate water very quickly. You'll think you'll be fine, and within a day or so, you'll be in trouble. So make sure you have an ATO. That's the main thing. I don't care if you like to do it by hand manually. You might have to leave suddenly for some trip or something, and that can cause you to not be near your tank. And it only takes about 2 days, and you can look up the research, but saltwater tanks evaporate a lot more water than freshwater tanks, especially if you have an open top. So I keep an ATO. I run a innovative marine on here. I spoke about this in my update video, but like I said, if you can do it. If you want to keep minimal coral, minimal hardy coral that you're not gonna necessarily dose. Now what I am going to do is start dosing this stuff right here, Calc plus 2, just to this aquarium. The plan is to dose Calc plus 2 on here to see how the corals progress, as well as feeding them reefroids. That's going straight to this tank. Now as far as my other tank, which is right here, I'm gonna do a little bit different. I'm gonna be dosing with a dosing pump Aquaforest component 1+, 2+, 3+, and I'm going to be dosing this, as well as feeding my coral the Aquaforest coral food. So this is gonna be a strictly Aquaforest tank. I just kind of want to see what the results are. The plan is to use that container completely, and then maybe afterwards I will switch to maybe some BRS 2-part and just compare the differences, leaving some downtime in between where I'm not using anything. Not really scientific, but it'll give me an idea of what I want to go with long term. So yeah, very simple. Keep a couple fish, couple little gobies. They don't really create a heavy bioload. Keep a good cleanup crew. I have about 5 hermits in here. I have 2 peppermint cleaner shrimp and 1 astrea, who's been growing very rapidly, and an emerald crab. So yeah, actually, let's feed the tank because I haven't fed them yet. So the main issue, like I said, with keeping small pico tanks is simply being able to be available to deal with them when things go wrong. When things are right, there are absolutely no issues. Everything's great. But when things go wrong, they go wrong fast. And that's the thing. When you have a bigger aquarium, when things go wrong, there's a lot more leeway for things to fix themselves, um, and just kind of get itself in check. But when things go wrong in a small aquarium like this, it could go wrong fast, and that's why I keep a pretty decent cleanup crew. That way I don't have to worry about anything like that. So yeah, guys, if you want to do it, do it. Don't let anyone tell you not to do it. Just be prepared that you are going to have a lot of work ahead of you. You can see the emerald crab right here. They love their mice shrimp. So yeah, I know I'm doing a lot of videos on this tank, but it seems that people really like it, and I feel like, and that's because, you know, not many people get to see Pico Nano Tanks that much, and they usually want to know whether they can do it or not. So hence this video. I think it's very important to be able to explain to people the ins and outs of doing something and letting them know whether they can do it. We are trying to educate, and we are trying to get more people into the hobby. It's great for the overall sustainability of a lot of these corals. If you're able to grow them out and then frag them out, sell them, trade them, then that means less coral that has to come out of the ocean. And if, you know, you're able to breed some of these fish, same thing. That means you're keeping them sustained in your homes. That way, you know, you don't have to take them out of the ocean, and that's a big thing. That's a good takeaway from the hobby, is that people may see it as a negative thing, but eventually, what's going to happen is that it's going to be self-sustaining, where people are able to reproduce these things without having to take them out of the ocean. And that's going to allow the ocean to grow and sustain itself. And that's the long-term goal of the hobby. So if you've had any negative ideas as to why we do what we do, there's a lot to it. So, but yeah, guys, all right, I'm going to keep this short. If you want to do it, do it. Do a lot of research if you've never done it before, or find someone that's done it before. Ask a lot of questions and learn. That's what's going to allow you to be successful. A lot of research and learning what's right and what's wrong. First thing I would look into is getting some experience, or getting an experienced hobbyist that knows how to treat issues in the tank, and have them as your guide. And then go ahead, build away. DIY, run a canister filter, whichever way you want to do it. Mine's drilled. I wanted to take it up a notch. So, there you go, guys. Have a good one.